Hi there, I'm Clarence Waldron. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Black Muse. Tonight's guest, oh, we're going to have a lively conversation. Tonight's guest is Gary Hines, the music director and producer of the Grammy Award winning, internationally acclaimed Sounds of Blackness. Oh, we know their songs, Optimistic, I Believe, and so many more. But I'm going to stop and let Gary lead the way. Hey,
How
what's
you
up?
doing, brother Clarence?
All right. It's been a long time since we actually talked like this. You know that.
Yes, it is. First met at Johnson Publishing and years ago, and thank you. This is an opportunity on behalf of Sounds of Blackness to say thank you for all your years of support and
Oh,
friendship.
yeah, no problem. No problem. Let's dig right in. Tell us about your latest song, Thankful, that is up for an NAACP Image Award on the 22nd of this month. That's amazing.
Yes, it is. We say thank and praise God and thank and praise you and all the supporters of Sounds of Blackness because without that support, it wouldn't have happened. And to do the NAACP as well. Thankful is an interesting story, brother Clarence, very quickly because it's almost counterintuitive to the title. I mean, obviously, thankful is gratitude and upbeat and all of that, but actually, the origins of thankful are not. They're out of tragedy. It's co-written by a Sounds of Blackness own Jamicia Bennett, the daughter of Ann Nesby, and our good friend, rapper Buddy McLean. And Buddy's son, Amir, 2 years ago, Brother Clarence, was tragically killed almost in his sleep by Minneapolis police who went to a wrong address. And so,
Oh,
yes, yes. And so, Buddy, who's a longtime friend and who we've collaborated with before. In talking with him, he said, Gary, I'm just going through such a range of emotions, rage and anger and heartbreak and so forth. He said, but you know what? The overriding emotion that I'm experiencing is thankfulness. I'm thankful for having had my son Amir for 21 years. And so we always tell that story because without that, people would think, oh, okay, this is just, another happy give thanks song. And that's okay in its own right, but this one has a special origin.
wow. So that may answer the next question. Sounds of Blackness remains very current. How do you stay relevant, Gary? How do you stay on top of everything?
Well, thank you for that, Brother Clarence. Artistically, we always collaborate with youth, keep our eye and ear on radio, but more than that, Sounds of Blackness, more than band, we are a movement. And so we want to be, and we've tried to be over the years and want to continue to be a cultural speaking voice for Black America. Like we say, our primary goal when we started 54 years ago this month was to glorify and still is to glorify God by uplifting all people through Black music. And so we keep our pulse. We live and stay in the community here in Minneapolis, even though I'm a native New Yorker. Shout out to the East Coast. But we've always been based here in the Twin Cities. And, everything from when George Floyd was murdered, 5 blocks from where we rehearsed, Brother Clarence, we were the first ones there in line for the protests and all of that. So not only the bad things, but the positive as well. So by keeping our ear and pulse and staying involved in the community, God works through that to give us musical ideas that we give back to the community and to the world.
Perfect, perfect. Because even like Black Lives Matter, all of
Yes,
that.
sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Can
Okay.
you believe this is the 10-year anniversary of Black Lives Matter? And, when that movement officially started, and co-founder Sister Alicia Garcia, uh, we reached out to them, Brother Clarence Sounds, and said, you know what? This movement needs an anthem, and Sounds of Blackness need to provide it for you. So God gave us the song Black Lives Matter and was blessed with a lot of support, again, from people like you and from the community and Black radio. And we gave it to Sister Garza. So this is so important for Sounds of Blackness to always be in the vanguard of the movement with the music.
Absolutely. Let's go back to the very beginning with the blockbuster hit Optimistic. That's your first big one. Tell me the story behind that. Who wrote that one and all of that?
Certainly, brother. And there's a interesting, and I'll make it brief story behind Optimistic. I was blessed at the time to be a staff producer at Flight Time Productions. Our dear brothers, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who along with Prince, we knew since the 70s. And I'll backtrack on that a little bit later. So that
Ooh.
a lot of people think that just suddenly happened. No, our families go back to the 70s from when we first moved here from New York. But we had been a year and a half in the making of that first record with them, Evolution of Gospel. And we had like 12 songs. And they called me into their office one night and they said, Doc, and it's always been their nickname for me, said, Doc, we know we've got a great record here, but we feel like we need to do one more that's going to be universal and that will be a classic and stand the test of time. And the word optimistic keeps ruminating. So we were up all night in their offices kind of thing. And they were blessed to allow me to co-write with them on Optimistic. And we called the group in the next night. And Brother Clarence, that session was just magical. I mean, it was experiential. It's beyond just another session, and we knew that we had something extraordinarily special with Optimistic. So it was the last song we recorded for Evolution of Gospel record, and again, it was something that was an experience. And now we've got, in terms of standing the test of time, everybody from Robert Glasper and Brandy redoing it, and then Chance the Rapper did the Optimistic Challenge with Black Fathers and Sons, and it's become the classic that we hoped that it would.
Yeah. Now it won a Grammy, didn't it?
It did that. We garnered our first Grammy, yes, and we're so honored by that. But you know what? As great as honor as that is, Brother Clarence, the greater honor is when we're alone, or even sometimes this has happened like at an airport, away from the cameras and the press and all that. And a perfect stranger will come up to us and, recognize the group and say, I want to thank you. I was contemplating suicide. And optimistic saved my life. I mean, we've had from people all over the world. So the Grammy is great. We treasure it. We would never say we don't, because we do and we always will. But when you have impact like that on people's lives, saving lives, bringing people closer to God or out of abusive situations, or we've had mayors and governors come up and say, this got me through college. Thank you, sounds like that. As the beer commercial says, it doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely. Wow. So now how many singers are in Sounds of Blackness today?
We have 15 singers grand total, and 10 musicians. Our band is just as much members are as the singers, so 25 total. What the most of the world sees, Clarence, most of the time, in terms of travel, both nationally and internationally, is our touring ensemble, which is 17 with 9 singers and eight musicians. Still a really big band. Uh, and Roger Troutman, rest his soul, used to tease me about that. Said, man, y'all got a lot of Negroes just like we do. But we're not the only one. I mean, Earth, Wind, and Fire and Cool and the Gang, but a lot of people. But we do have a touring ensemble that does most of our travel.
Got it. Got it. So talk for a minute about the origin of Sounds of Blackness. Where did it begin? How did it begin? Talk about that for a minute.
Certainly. We're so blessed, Brother Clarence. Sounds of Blackness began at my alma mater here in the Twin Cities, McAllister College. And the origins of Sounds of Blackness started in 1969 when the college, a predominantly white institution of higher learning, embarked on a very ambitious program to conscientiously recruit students of color called EEO, which stood for Expanded Educational Opportunities. They were very successful in that effort, and at one time had almost 200 Black students and other students of color on campus. One of the offshoots of that is that the students themselves began a number of organizations. There was a political organization, which I'm so happy to say still exists, BLAC, the Black Liberation Affairs Committee. There was a theater group called Black Arts Midwest. And there was this 50-voice choir called the McAllister College Black Voices, founded by our dear brother and emeritus founder, Brother Russell Knighton, a native of Beaumont, Texas. He was getting ready to graduate in early 71 and approached me about taking the reins for the group from him as director, and I was honored to do that because they were excellent back then. But the vision, brother Clarence, that God gave me for Sounds of Blackness, as I assumed the directorship, was to follow the tradition of Duke Ellington. Now that surprises a lot of people when I say that. But Duke Ellington, we hear that name and we think of jazz, as we certainly should, but too many people don't know that Duke wrote, recorded, and performed blues, spirituals, World beat, every sound of blackness. He really did the music of the culture, predominantly jazz, but the music of the culture. So we can't claim credit for that template in terms of doing the music of the culture. So we always say that our musical mentor is the late great Duke Ellington, and so that's the origin and meaning of the name Sounds of Blackness. Every sound of the black experience: jazz, blues, hip hop, rock, gospel, rock and roll, country. Yes, country. Every style of black music is in our repertoire.
Wow. All right. So now you do live there in Minneapolis, and I'm
Yes.
sure the group worked with or met Prince at some point or another. Talk about that for a minute.
Yes, the and it still is surreal and unreal, brother, to talk about him in the past tense. But
Mm,
Prince and I were friends and brothers for over 40 years, and I'll tell you this in terms of immediate background.
mm.
Here in Minneapolis on the South Side, in the heart of the black community, was Bryant Junior High School, which is now Sabathani Community Center, and about 3 blocks down was Minneapolis Central High School. So the two schools interacted quite a bit, the junior high and the senior high, academically, musically, and so forth. And I'll never forget my senior year at Central High School. I started hearing all these rumors about this little dude down the street at Bryant who was a beast on every instrument. Well, now guess who that was?
Wow. Mm.
So yeah, so the relationship, with Prince goes back like to mid 70s and continued on, and just like Jam and Lewis, when Prince came into his international stardom, he never forgot about Sounds of Blackness. See, we did programs and shows together with him, with his bands, with Jam and Lewis, the Minneapolis Black Music Festival, which we had even back then. It was called the North Side Festival. The annual Urban League dinner, all those types of events. Usually, Sounds of Blackness would open up with Lift Every Voice and with a couple of songs, and then, of course, either Prince or The Time or both would close out the evening with the dance kind of thing. So we spent a lot of time backstage over the years. And so, like I say, a friend and brother for 40 years, and he would come to our performances, support. He was so gracious, Brother Clarence. He would come to a theater, a major thing, to see one of our Christmas show or our Motown show, and he would sit up in the lighting booth just so as not to be a distraction, from us and from the show. Just so gracious and so humble. And when he got the soundtrack for the first Batman movie with Jack Nicholson, he called Sounds of Blackness in. So we were blessed to do a number of projects with him, and we miss him dearly.
Wow. So now, of course, there's Aretha and Luther that comes to mind. Tell me about those experiences real quick.
Absolutely.
Mm.
When Optimistic broke, and of course, as you know, was spring of 1991. We were getting all these calls, about joining people on tours and all that kind of thing. But when we got a call from Luther's people, it's like game over. Okay, that's really good. So we were blessed. Sounds of Blackness, along with the great Lisa Fisher and our dear brother Sinbad, to do what was called the Power of Love tour. And we're so honored, just to have been with him. We were on the road almost half a year. With the Power of Love tour, crisscrossed the United States, actually a couple of times. And that year, going into '92, Luther won his first Grammy, and Sounds won our first Grammy. So we just bonded and bonded, and we're eternally grateful to Luther, his memory, his legacy.
Yes, yeah. Stop there for a minute. You guys won 3 Grammys. I got
Yeah.
optimistic. Name the other two that you got Grammys for.
Certainly. The next two, Brother Clarence, are actually shared multiple artist Grammys. So the second was 1994 for the Handel's Messiah Soulful Celebration, which was the African American arrangements of the great George Handel's Messiah. And I mean, every artist you can think of, my God, everybody from Take Six, the Yellow Jackets, Johnny Mathis, Gladys Knight. I mean, it just went on and on and on. And that's the tip of the iceberg. There's probably 15 different artists on that project, and it was blessed to win. So that's a shared Grammy. And then our third one is also a shared Grammy for the music of the movie The Apostle. With Robert Duvall, who was nominated that year, for an Academy Award. And so that has multiple artists on it. Some country, that was our first time working with Lyle Lovett, a great artist and a great human being, and several others that are on that record. So those are the what comprise the 3 Grammys.
Got it. Got it. So now the next question, I don't think that I need to even ask you where your love where music comes from, because your mother, Doris Hines, was a
Yeah,
noted jazz singer. Talk
yeah.
about her for a minute.
Absolutely. The one and only Doris Hines with a
Mm,
four octave contralto range. With her heritage, her mom's from Kingston, Jamaica, so we always acknowledge that. But born and raised, in New York, in Yonkers, kind of thing, and met my dad, married, and made me and my siblings, kind of thing. But Doris Hines was just an unstoppable force with just a phenomenal voice, Brother Clarence. I would say that if she was not my mom, I mean, her voice was just stunning.
mhm.
And she worked with contemporaries. I mean, of names that I know all your listeners and viewers know: Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Reese, Della Washington, Nat King Cole. The list goes on and on. In fact, it was Nat King Cole that told Ella Fitzgerald, do not miss Doris Hines. And right now, as we speak, the Minnesota Arts Theater is developing a play about Mom Doris Hines, and they titled it "Don't Miss Doris Hines" after Nat King Cole's words. So we'll have to keep you abreast of that in terms of when it stages.
Please do. Wow, that's
Yeah.
exciting. That's exciting. Yeah,
Yes, it is.
yeah.
And she encouraged back in New York before we she relocated us here to Minneapolis. She encouraged all, of course, all of her children. I'm the youngest of six, three boys, three girls. But my brothers and I were in a drum corps, and before we got in that, we loved drums, and we would beat on pots and pans, and most parents would say, "Now give me that noise, cut that out," right? But not her. She encouraged us and got us
Mm,
into the Samuel H. Dow American Legion All Black Drum Corps back in New York, and then that continued here. She moved to Minneapolis because Minneapolis was a jazz mecca, and she was booked here for what was supposed to be 2 weeks. And got held over for like a year and fell in love with Minneapolis and moved us here. And so that's how that happened, because Minneapolis was unbeknownst to a lot of people, was really a jazz mecca. I mean, Duke and Count. I met Count Basie here. Got his autograph. They were here all the time, and so that's what brought Doris and us here to Minneapolis from Yonkers.
wow, wow. So now your mother, she said something to you one time, a song title. She had a song title for every situation, I believe it was.
Yes.
What does she mean by that?
I mean, anything in life that you were going through, she had a song title. You might be, talking about, any given subject, and she would either give you a song title or more often than not, actually just break out in a song with almost the exact lyric to whatever you had just explained to her,
Mm,
kind of thing. It's like, Mom, where do you come? So no matter what, good situations, bad, happy, frustration, or positive, Mom had a song for it.
got it, got it. Now you studied music in college. Did you say that earlier? Did you study music?
Yes, and interesting enough, and great questions, by the way. But what
Mm,
else? That's why you're Clarence Waldron. But the reason I say that is my study of music in college was actually more informal, because I was actually a sociology major and originally on track for pre-law, sociology, masters and doctorate, all that kind of thing. But I knew in my heart of hearts, that music was what I wanted to do full time, kind of thing. So music was always there at Macalester College, whether it was, but I didn't major in music, just to make that distinction. You know what? I should say I didn't officially major in music, but I kind of unofficially majored in music, because we were at the rehearsing there all the time. The college was supportive of Sounds of Blackness then, and they're still supportive this day. We celebrate our 50th anniversary with a concert at Macalester last June.
nice, 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 nice. I hear that Ann Nesby has a new record out. Let's go back.
Uh,
Where did you find her? How did you hear about her? How did she end up being, at that point, the lead singer of Sounds of Blackness?
Yes, sir. Ann, our dear sister. Our families go back. Now, if you think Jam and Lewis and I go back a long ways to the 70s,
Hmm,
Ann's family and I go back to the 60s, when
okay.
Sounds of, right when the Hines family first moved from Yonkers to Minneapolis. And so what happened was my home church at the time, Sabbathany Baptist, which was the heart of the Southside Black community at the time, and her church, Macedonia of Rockford, Illinois, were sister churches. And so we would visit each other alternately each summer. You know, they would come here, we would go there, kind of thing, and, you know, worship and then do an afternoon concert and then hit the road. And so we met Ann and became aware of Ann in like the late 60s. And it's like, oh my God, who is this woman? And when sounds began and started flourishing in the early 70s, her sister Shirley Marie, who is no joke either, by the way, was
Hmm.
already a member of Sounds of Blackness because she also sang at Sabbathany Church. But when Ann moved to Minneapolis, you know, Marie said, "You got to come audition for the Sounds of Blackness." And there are two people, and I'll cut off my answer here. There are two people
Hmm.
and I know you'll know both of these names, whose audition in 54 years, and I just conducted another audition last night. In
Oh,
54 years, there's only two auditions I have cut short and said, okay, there's no need to continue. One was Ann Nesby. About halfway through, it's like, oh my God, okay, you know, like stop the presses. The other one, who was a member of Sounds of Blackness when he first moved to Minneapolis from Mississippi, and a lot of people don't know, is the great Alexander O'Neill. So he was with Sounds for about a year before he went on to the Flight Time Band.
oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yes, so
Okay.
he'd be the first to tell you. And Ann started even when she went on her solo career. Ann said then, and we still say now, once a sound, always a sound. So
Yeah.
they consider themselves a part of the Sounds of Blackness extended family.
Right, right. So now that she's a solo artist, her
Yeah.
daughter is singing the lead on Thankful. Who is the
Yes.
gentleman as well who sings with her?
That is Buddy Locke, who the father of Amir, who we talking co-wrote the song,
Oh,
and Jamesia directed the video. So yeah, your little buddy or his stage name or Buddy McLean is also a rapper. And so he and Jamesia co-wrote the song. That's him doing the rap on the song. So when we got our nomination, Brother Clarence, it reads outstanding group traditional sounds of blackness featuring Jamesia Bennett and Little Buddy or Buddy McLean.
cool, 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 cool. All right, our time is flying. My God.
I knew it would.
Yeah, yeah. So what's next for Sounds of Blackness? What's next?
Well, these next few things, and they're wonderful things. Of course, going to a few of us to represent the group at the Image Awards next week in LA, specifically in Pasadena, and
Right.
then March 7th, and you'll love this, Brother Clarence.
Hmm.
The great Alicia Keys and her husband Swiss Beats are prolific art collectors, and they are bringing a major exhibit to the Minneapolis Institute of Arts on March 7th, and they've asked Sounds of Blackness to provide the musical entertainment for that night. So it's been years since Alicia and I were face to face, but they are both coming in for this exhibit debut and for that program. So that's March 7th here in Minneapolis, and you know, we're just ecstatic about that.
Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else that you want to share since we got you here? Anything that I did not ask you that you sort of wish that I did ask you?
No, you're always so thorough, my brother.
Oh,
I think we're good to go. We just want to thank you again publicly on behalf of Sounds of Blackness for years of friendship, brotherhood, and support, and to direct all your listeners and viewers to our website, soundsofblackness.org. And we're on all the other formats, Snapchat, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, just under Sounds of Blackness. If you leave us a message, you will hear back from us, you know, within a day or so. So we'd love to make that connection directly.
cool. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. But before we close, I need to send a shout out to Howard Sandifer and his wife, Darlene Sandifer. They are the founders of the Chicago West Community Music Center, and this whole video podcast was their idea. They sort of said, let's move, let's branch out and talk to our friends and newsmakers. So here we are. So thank you very much for being here. Again, and also for my viewers, please click like and subscribe. We need to hear from you guys as well. Click like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all.